Guru Nanak's comprehensive comment on the Brahmanical tradition includes scriptures, gods and goddesses, worship of idols, ritual charities, pilgrimage, home arati, and dance and drama related to the human incarnations of Vishnu. As representatives of the Brahmanical tradition, Hindus praise God as laid down in the Shastras. They bathe at sacred places and worship idols in temples, burning incense. The Brahmans were associated with learning. For Guru Nanak, however, cartloads and boatfuls of books do not help. One may read books all the year round, all the months of a year, and with each breath, but without any spiritual gain. What matters, essentially, is dedication to God and faith in Him. The foolish Pandit flaunts his learning and skill in argument, but his real purpose is to garner wealth. There is a whole Sherlock on the Brahman. He reads books, performs worship, and engages in contention. He worships stones and adopts the posture of meditation, like the heron. He tells lies in a palatable manner. He recites the Gayatri 3 times a day. He wears a necklace of beads around his neck and puts a paste mark on his forehead. He keeps 2 dhotis and a cloth to cover his head. If his idea is to please God, his acts are surely futile. The only way to please God is to meditate on Him with complete sincerity. Elsewhere in the Bani of Guru Nanak, there is much about the beliefs and practices of the Brahman. The master who created air, water, and fire also created Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. He alone is the giver of gifts. All others are beggars. There are 33 cores of gods who beg from the Supreme Lord. Nothing can be contained in an inverted bowl. Nectar falls into the bowl held upright. In other words, nothing comes out of worshipping God's creatures. The so-called gods, including Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Indeed, like the rest of the world, Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra suffer from the disease of mortality. They are not eternal. The Vedas are said to inculcate belief in the one whose limits cannot be known, the only creator of the universe who has established the earth and the sky without any visible support. The Vedas are believed to talk of bhakti, which shows the light. The Shastras and Smritis are said to talk of the name, which leads to peace through the Guru's instruction. However, the recitation of the Veda leads merely to pride and contention, becoming a chain that keeps one bound to death and rebirth. Millions of lessons in the Shastras and millions of recitations of the Puranas are of no use if one does not find honor in God's court. Such an honor comes from the name through God's grace. Guru Nanak asks the Pandit if he could show the way to God. The question carries the implication that the Pandit does not know. Indeed, fools are called Pandits. They merely talk and never reflect. A real Pandit is he who acquires Jnana, who can see the one in all human beings and is free from homme. Some recite the Veda and some the Puranas. Some count beds. Guru Nanak recognizes only the name. Guru Nanak does not appreciate the practices followed or recommended by the Brahman. Hom, Jag, and reading of the Puranas can have value only if they are acceptable to God. Liberation comes through the name by turning to the Guru and not through Jag, Hom, Pun, Tap, or Puja. If the whole body is cut into pieces and offered to the fire, like ghee, if the mind and the body are offered like firewood, and even if the act is repeated 1,000,000 times, it cannot equal the merit of appropriating the name. The gods and goddesses of stone are washed and worshipped, but if they are left in water, they sink. What can they do for the worshipper? If the idol itself has no relevance for genuine worship of God, an arete offered to the idol can have no meaning. No arete can be appropriate for the bestower of liberation. The sky is the platter, the sun and the moon are the lamps, the stars are the pearls, the fragrant air is the chore, the entire vegetation serves as flowers for offering, and the unstruck music is the drum played for him. The whole creation is a form of arati for him. Bathing at sacred places is of no use when the mind is filled with the dirt of pride. The object of pilgrimage is within oneself. The merit attributed to pilgrimage at all the 68 sacred places is at the Guru's feet. The real pilgrimage is the Guru's sight and the company of saints. If you are keen on pilgrimage, the real Tirth is the name and the Shabbat. The Jian given by the Guru is the real place of pilgrimage with the merit attributed to bathing on 10 auspicious occasions. There is no Tirth like the Guru. The Pandit reads books but does not understand. He teaches others as a gainful occupation. His talk is false and his actions show no awareness of the Shabbat. There are many Pandits who practice astrology and talk of the Veda. They remain subject to death and rebirth. Without the Guru's grace, they can never attain liberation. A real Brahman is he who knows Brahm. He remains immersed in loving devotion and realizes that God is in every human being. Greatness comes from the name and from recognizing the Guru's Shabbat. He exercises restraint and regards contentment as his dharma. He breaks the chain of death and rebirth to attain liberation. Such a Brahman is entitled to worship. In the Slok Sanskriti, Guru Nanak describes the multifarious activities of the Brahman to tell him that he cannot find the right path without the true Guru. Liberation comes through the Guru's grace. There is only one God and no gods or goddesses to be worshipped. There is only one Shabbat for all, and not different dharmas for Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Contrary to the popular impression, Guru Nanak is very critical of the Vaishnava worship of Rama and Krishna. In the first place, there was no room for incarnation in Guru Nanak's conception of good. Rama of history is referred to as the dust of God's feet. It brings no credit to Krishna that he forcibly seduced Chandraval and stole the wish-fulfilling tree Parjat for a gopi and engaged in dalliance with her in Bindraban. There were numerous legends of Krishna. Many danced to tunes and whirled about, performed the role of kings and queens in public places, wearing earrings and necklaces worth lakhs of rupees. Idly chatter and clever devices do not lead to enlightenment. It is received only through God's grace. The whole universe is dancing in praise of God. The Gadis are Krishna's milkmaids and Pahars are Krishna and his cowherds. The earth with its wealth and riches becomes a snare for human beings who remain subject to death and rebirth. The disciples play on musical instruments and the gurus dance. They move their feet and their heads. Dust flies and falls into their hair. The people feel amused and go home after the performance. The performers keep to the measure for bread, striking their feet on the ground. They sing as gopis and come as Kam. They sing as Sita and Raja Ram. This is no worship. The whole universe is the creation of the fearless and the formless one, who alone is true. His worship alone leads to liberation. Dancing and jumping are passing pleasure. All bound in the bonds of deeds are whirling around, enacting a kind of dance. Endless is their enumeration. The oil press, the spinning wheel, the grindstone, the potter's wheel, the whirlwind, the top, the churning wheel, the bullocks jogged to the crusher to separate grain from the chaff, the winged creatures ceaselessly whirling, and the living beings whirling on the pike. In the same way, the learned dance, play on instruments, and deck themselves for histrionic postures, shouting aloud and singing tales of the past heroes, their fights and contests. There is no merit in all this. Guru Nanak tells the Vaishnavas that they should dance with understanding of the musical instruments Vaja and loving devotion of the drum Bhagavaj. The mind absorbed in this dance is the source of happiness. Austerities are subsumed in this bhakti. This is the way to dance. The praise of God is the real dance. All else is sensual pleasure. The Vaishnava dance is associated with the supposed incarnations of Vishnu as Rama or Krishna. The creator of the universe does not become great by killing Ravana. He who is all-pervasive, who created all living beings, and who runs the universe does not become great by subduing the serpent Kali or killing Kansa. The one who is manifest everywhere cannot be confined to a time or a place. The real dance is to go to the Sangat of the Sikhs and to hear the true name. The volume of Guru Angad's Bani is very thin. Even so, he refers to the Brahmanical tradition. The Vedas dwell on sinful and virtuous actions which lead to hell or heaven. They talk of high and low castes and of different kinds. The world wanders in illusion. The Pandit does not know God. Guru Amar Das mentions that learned Pandit explicitly as a Manmukh. He is associated with Shutak. The Manmukh Pandit follows the wrong path, Kumarg. He reads much and debates much, and without the Guru spreads illusion. Without the Shabbat he cannot attain liberation. He remains chained to the wheel of any 4 million of births. The Pandit reads the Vedas and gives elaborate expositions, but he remains entangled in Maya. He remains oblivious of the divine name and receives punishment. He recites loudly and does not search for the Brahm within. He teaches others, but he himself does not understand. He wastes his life and is reborn again and again. He expounds the Vedas, Shastras, and Smritis, but he remains in illusion and does not grasp the essence. Without serving the true Guru, he gains no peace and multiplies suffering. Because of what he says and does, the Pandit cannot attain the fourth stage, which is beyond the three qualities. His ignorance keeps him in the dark all the time. The Vedas talk loudly of the three qualities of Maya. He who remains attached to Maya cannot have understanding. God is both Nirgun and Sargun. The Pandit does not grasp this essence. He who becomes Brahmjani is the real Brahman. The learned Pandit remains alien to his own self. The alternative to the Pandit's learning is reflection on the Guru's Shabad. The four Vedas were given to Brahma and he reflected on them, but poor Brahma could not understand the divine order, Hukam, and remained occupied with hell and heaven and the incarnations. The Pandit sets himself up as the teacher, Pada, without having the qualifications of a teacher. Entangled in Maya, he keeps others entangled. The daughter of his judgment is like his own daughter, but he receives remuneration for performing her marriage ceremony. The learning of the Pandit does not lead to contentment. The reading of the Vedas does not remove the dirt. His pride is the result of his entanglement in Maya. The study of the Vedas does not lead to understanding of the name. The Vedas dwell merely on God and evil deeds. The Shastras and Smritis do not lead to the goal of life. The Pandit is advised to appropriate the way meant for the followers of the Gurus. An oblivious implication of the invitation to the Pandit to adopt the Sikh way of life is the futility of his own practices. All karm kand is mere entanglement in Maya. He who entertains the notion of impurity, Shutak, can never perform a commendable deed of right worship. Pride, ahankar, is not eradicated by bathing in at Tirats. Right thinking does not come by going to Kasi, nor does one get rid of one's wrong thinking. The Kasi is in the mind. All the 68 Tireths accompany him who has lodged God in his heart. Only that Sandhya is acceptable which leads to the remembrance of God. Without realizing God, Sandhya, Tarpan, and Gayatri lead to nothing but suffering. Drawn by consciousness of the divine is the true chauka. The divine name is the true food as the basis of human life. Were I to become a Pandit Jatki and read all the four Vedas, were I to be known in all the nine regions of the earth for my conduct and intelligence, were my chaka never made impure, it would be a great misfortune. If I were to forget the true word, all chakas are false. The only true entity is God. Guru Amar Das advises the Panda to replace the fasts of Nami, Dasami, Ekadasi, and Dudasi by appropriation of the truth to control his senses and to find the way to liberation. However, the Pandit, the Pada, and the Panda are not the only ones to be invited to the new path. The worshippers of Krishna are told to recognize God, Bhagavan, and their own self through the Guru's grace. They should control their mind and concentrate on the One. They should die in life. They should meditate on the name so that they may attain liberation. There is no bhakti in dancing and jumping. Only he attains bhakti who dies through the Shabad. There is a whole composition on dance in Rag Gujri. One should dance for the Guru and in accordance with the Guru's will to get rid of the fear of death. He who turns to the Guru becomes absorbed in the Shabad and dances through God's grace and is enabled by God to live in accordance with his hukam. The true Bhagats are the real Jnanis. They dance to God's will. The religious life reflected in the Bani of Guru Ram Das relates largely to Brahmanical dispensation. Tirat, Bharat, Jag, Pun, and Puja. Apart from the four Vedas, 18 Puranas, six Darshans, Smritis, and Shastras, there are references to Jap, Tap, and Sanjam, 33 crores of gods, 68 places of pilgrimage, and the most sacred rivers. Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahadev appear as God's creatures. There is nothing commendable in the beliefs and practices of the Brahmins. The Vaishnavas take long to bring bells and cymbals and to tune to their rebeck. Far better it is to use this time in contemplation of the name. They take long to collect notes and to tune melody of the measure. Far better it is to use this time for laudation of the Lord. They take long to stretch hands to form poses. Far better it is to use this time to contemplate the divine name. They should sing the praises of God in the true association of God's devotees. Thereby illumination will come and darkness will be lifted. The devotees of God should dance the dance of contemplation. The Sikh way is far preferable to that of the Vaishnava Bhaktas. Guru Arjan refers to the Brahmanical system of religious beliefs and practices in which Brahman of the Pandit, his spotless dhoti, the sacred thread and the sacred mark, performance of Bam, Hum, the six essential duties, rites and ceremonies, pilgrimage, fasting, recitation of the Vedas, and reading of Shastras, Puranas, and Smritis figure in a number of verses. The Vedas sing God's praises, but only inadequately. Brahma, Indra, Vishnu, and his incarnations are God's creation. Brahma did not know the secret of God, and avatars did not know his limits. One could not attain God through the Vedas as one could not do so through pilgrimage, wandering all over and doling out charities. None of the six schools of philosophy leads to the right path. The Brahman gives instruction without knowing the truth.